buy suckers and wouldn't share it. Marcel got mad one time and hit it. She was still sniffling 6 hours later. She might have been doing it in front of Graham just to get Marcel in trouble. They say she wasn't much of a cook. She used to make these little tough little biscuits, and she would fix gravy and flour and give it to them for breakfast. That's all. Nothing else, just biscuits and gravy. And she was always imitating somebody, have you laughing, because she was good at it. One time, her and Marcel went to the Del Monte to take the 3 for 25-cent snapshots. Well, Annie was in the booth so long, Marcel went in to check on her to make sure nothing was wrong. And she was sitting in there stuffing her jaws with cotton. So it would look like she had a fat face, so she could look fat on the picture. Uncle Chester. Surely wish he was here. He had a lot of comments. I had to edit his down. He was a rascal. He was about Chester and nobody else. He was always telling somebody how ugly they were. There was this song out in the 40s called You Are Some Ugly Boy. He called you ugly so much until you started to believe it. He would always be bragging about how good he was looking and how he wanted to be all dressed up and he had to be looking good. One time he ordered these pants from Walterfield and got dressed up to go out. But by the time he got downtown, the creases was gone. And the pants legs got so big it looked like a woman's dress. So he said he had turned into a woman. So he paid Alberta to start the crease in him and got all dressed up and went out the next week. And the same thing happened again. One Christmas, he gave Sherman a cap pistol, and as the day wore on, he took it back and told Sherman that he had shot it enough. He kept it, and the next time Sherman saw it, it was when he gave it to him again for Christmas the next year. He would always trick Marcel out of her money, because the boys and the girls would get 50 cents to go downtown, but the girls had to be back early by sundown, so they didn't get a chance to spend all their money like the boys would make us stay out late. So Chester would beg Marcel out of her money, and she would give it to him if he promised to tell her what the girls was wearing when he went to town. When he come back, he just said just enough the next morning to tell her about it so he could get a quarter the next week. They used to play funerals. And he would always be the dead person, so the others would have to carry him. Then he'd get mad when they let his legs hit the floor. Because after all, he was an old man big. And then he'd tell them how to carry him. Well, Marcel would say, how you gonna fuss at us about how to carry you? You're supposed to be dead. He was very bossy, and if he told you to do something, you had better do it or he would get you. He definitely called the shots, and if you didn't think that he was being fair about something, you best keep it to yourself, because Grandmother Annie wasn't going to do nothing to him, so nobody wasted their time telling him. Well, nobody but Marcel. Marcel, she was always hot about something. She was never satisfied and always complaining about something and somebody. She always wanted to whoop Alberta and Honey, and she would never sit down. She had to stand up so she could see what everybody was doing so she could tell them. Papa used to say, sit down, Marcel, because she was always on duty, directing traffic. Talk about, Mama, make old Honey do this, make old Nate do that. She knows she did more work than anybody else, so she was always making sure that they did their share of work. But she didn't want to talk about how she used to wait for Miss Zena to come and churn that milk for her. She would get mad at everything and anybody. Complained about the way we chopped cotton. We didn't chop the cotton right. Old Duddy tried to get away. Old Chester got another biscuit. She would tell everything. Alberta was about 3 years old, and it was what they call a scorching hot day in Arkansas. It was so hot the ground would burn their feet. So Alberta told Graham the ground would burn her feet, so Graham picked up a little cherry. Merciel got mad and ran up to the house and told Grandma, you need to get on there and make her come home, because if you don't, Grandma gonna ruin her. She was a great actress, too. Now, she could dole out some licks, but if you hit her, she would fall on the floor. And boy, she would make you think you had killed, just lay out. Her and that elite, they could break people over cold. They enjoyed sitting up talking about people and laughing at them. Annie told her that she wasn't making her no more dresses to tear off at the waist from her crawling around on the floor. Tearing dresses up, so that forced Merciel to learn how to sew. She wanted to dress up in those wide skirts, so she had to make them herself. And that's how Chester was able to trick out her money, because she wanted to keep up with the fashion trends. Napoleon, he was a tough customer. He was a fighter and would fight anything and anybody. Everybody he fought, he beat up. He feared nothing. Nobody better not mess with any of his siblings, or he would tear them up and everybody knew it. Nobody crossed him unless they was looking to get whooped. Except Chester, maybe. He even taught his sisters how to fight. One day, Alberta, Honey, and Dudley went out to the crawdad hole and picked a bunch of crawdads. They came home and they worked hard to clean all those crawdads, cook them up, and then they laid down and go to sleep, because they were saving them when they got up. So they had something good to eat. Well, they got up later that evening and Chester had ate every crawdad. Didn't save them one. Dudley wanted to get him. He was burnt up, and that's the only person that would have gotten away with that. Anybody else, he would have murdered. He was a lazy joker. He would chase grasshoppers on animals, anything, and get out working. We'd all be working and we'd look up and he'd be off somewhere chasing grasshoppers or hunting. Anything that moved, snakes, it didn't matter, because he wasn't scared of nothing. He had this old Winchester gun shooting at buzzards. Wouldn't hit nothing, but had a lot of fun shooting at them. One day he went into the barn and found some baby rats and hooked them up to a string and tied the string to a matchbox.
Ooh, Peter would be on you right now.
So the matchbox would be moved. When he didn't want to work, or he'd get mad, he'd make him a little budget and tie it to a stick and run off. He was good for that one, getting mad and running away from home. He was always an entrepreneur, always wanting to go into business for himself. Thus, Napoleon's indicator. He wanted to have something in life. He wanted to get paid. He was about getting his money. So
That's
it was
all
this old
right.
truck that was broke down in the back, and everybody knew it would never run again but him. But because he was going to fix it. Herman, the agitator, told him that he was going to run it till it turned red and sit it up on the side of the road and leave it there. Dudley got so mad he wanted to beat him up. Grandmother didn't do anything to Herman, so he got the budget, tied it to the stick. He was going to run off with it. I'm Honey. She was the queen. She combed and fixed and patted and crimped and combed and crimped. She started combing her own hair at a very early age because she didn't want Merciel hitting her upside the head with that brush like she did at first. If it was one thing we knew, it was that she was going to be looking good and she was going to do whatever it takes to get there. One day she put this talcum powder all down her bosom. And you could see it through her clothes, but she denied that she had used it. Of course, Merciel told and she hid it. And a big knot rose on Merciel's head, and Merciel fell out in the floor kicking. Honey wasn't going anywhere special, but she wanted to smell good, and that talcum powder wasn't mean to her end. She wasn't letting Merciel or nobody else get in her way. If it wasn't for Mary, she wouldn't have nothing to do. However, she was a natural tomboy. She would climb trees like a squirrel, going high in the sky and hanging on limbs, living dangerous. Hunt and fish with the best of them. She never talked much, was always quiet. And her and Alberta was best friends. Alberta liked to talk, and late at night when they would go to bed, she'd just be talking away, and then she would notice Honey wasn't saying nothing. And she'd look over at Honey, and she'd
Knocked
be
out.
She loved to take care of the babies, and she was quite the protector. She made sure nobody was going to mess with her little sister and brothers. She was tough and always took care of the cave. When Matt McDonald jokingly accused her of stealing his bell, her would say, "I didn't steal your bell, Joey stole your bell." Honey knew that he didn't know what he was talking about, and she acted like the little protector she was, thinking, "That's my little brother. He don't know no better." One day there was a girl at school harassing Alberta at recess. Honey was just observing, standing in the corner looking and observing them argue back and forth. When that girl made her move, Honey jumped up on that girl and beat her down. Needless to say, nobody ever messed with Alberta again. They were
Ooh, that's where I get it from, huh?
Alberta. Lazy as the daisiest woman. Didn't want to work. Played grandmother Annie like a fiddle. She always had a headache. Everything you say to her hurt her feelings, and she was crying all the time. Honey and Dudley would be climbing trees, hunting in the woods, and she was younger, but she would be tagging along, and they would climb up in the trees, and then they would be, she wouldn't be able to keep up with them, standing down there scared. They would be up there chanting lines, bags, panties, and hands to scare even more. She would be standing down there hollering and crying, and that's how she got the name Betty Judy Sanctity. One day, Alberta, Honey, and Dudley was walking and saw a snake, which was already dead on the road. So Papa was looking at Dudley beating on the snake, knowing he had to kill everything. So he told Dudley to leave that snake alone. He did. And he had Alberta and Honey to take turns beating the snake too. So when they got home, Papa whooped Dudley because he had watched them. He had been watching them to see what they were doing. Alberta got so scared to get her whooping, she ran off up to Grandpa's and stayed up there a whole week. She was nosy and always lurking around the corner, eavesdropping on Mercy and Annie Lee. She was a dresser because Annie Lee made sure she sent clothes to everybody so they could be looking good. Well, Alberta had enemies when she was going to school. It must have been quite a fashion statement because the principal accused her of trying to outdress the teachers, which didn't do much for her popularity. She was feisty too, and she had her pet peeves about certain things. She would dole out a slap but couldn't take one. She couldn't stand for nobody to smack. And Mr. Emmett, a friend of the family, was smacking at the dinner table. She went to smack, and Herman caught her hand. And Mr. Emmett, I heard, was lazy too, and always wanted somebody to bring him a drink of water. So he asked Alberta to get him a glass of rock water. Reluctantly, she went to get it. When she came back, Mr. Emmett turned the cup up to his mouth, hastily drinking the water, but instead of water, grease was splashed down both sides of his mouth. She had filled the cup up with grease.
Oh, no.
Grandmother was so tickled, she just busted out laughing. And after that, Mr. Emmett got his own water. Herman. He was a know-it-all. He was an active. Herman got the idea to get this oil filter and make an electric light for the chickens. So he gets it and lighted in front of the chicken house, and it caught on fire. The next thing you know, it was blazing out of control. Annabelle got so mad, she said, "You're going to burn up and kill all my chickens." And she whooped him good. She whooped him until she got tired. Rested, started talking about it, got mad all over again, and started whooping him again. That was a whooping Thomas Edison remembers to this day. Sherman. Unlike Herman, he loved being petted and cared for.
I bet.
He was the baby and he knew it. He lived by it. He ate it up.
The Kenya babies.
He would walk around reaching his arms up to be picked up. He was 3 years old and still talking baby talk. Walking up to Grandmother Annie Bell, still trying to nurse. Papa told her, you gonna have to wean that boy away. He was always carrying on some foolishness, always making people laugh. He was a good actor and a comedian. He even got a scholarship to college to pursue acting out of the women's state competition. And boy, could he sing. One time he and Auntie went to the movie to see this movie called Earth Beneath and the Sky Above. It was about some African people running around and half naked. And at the time, we didn't know any better, so it was boring and we was ready to go. When Sherman got to talking about the movie and turned it into a stand-up act, we laughed at the movie, but the rest of the time it was on. He did his share of torturing Jackie as well with his answers. Oh, wow. Jackie needed a haircut, so he was going to cut Jackie's hair for her. He cut a roll right down the middle of Jackie's hair.
Oh.
And then he said he was through. That's Jackie crying up again. He would lag frogs together, tie them together. Those that don't know what lag is. And he wouldn't give them no food or nothing. And then he would turn them loose after a couple days and say, well, they lost weight. Yeah. He was quite the builder. He was always building something, fixing something to make it work, putting something together. One day, Grandmother Annie told Sherman to take the baby chickens and throw them away at the edge of the woods. Well, he was going through adolescence, you know, what the old folks used to call smelling themselves, and he said, I don't want to take them stinking chickens out to the woods. Grandmother got so mad she whooped him till she got tired. Rested, talked to him, got mad again talking about it, and whooped him again. Does it mean or is there a pattern there? And that concludes our roast.